And welcome to Nostalgia Alley Special Edition. Is there a Broadway star in the studio? Yes, we have a Broadway star. Kristin Carbone is our guest, and what a guest. Listen to these credits. We have Mary Poppins. We have Fiddler on the Roof. We have Into the Woods, Dear World, Molly Maguire, and Children in Art, which we'll go over. But it is a pleasure to have you on.
Thank you so much.
How do you like our little miniature Broadway stage here?
It's fantastic.
Isn't it great?
I feel right at home.
There's no expense here at Nostalgia Alley. Anyway, the big question. When you were a child, did you ever think you'd be on Broadway?
Do you know, I don't think I thought it was possible. I didn't have anybody around me that did this. And I really just had this burning desire to be on stage and to sing, and it in my life it was so serendipitous. I just sort of was able to be in the right place in the right time to meet the right person to set me on the path for the next step. I feel so fortunate. So no, I never did.
Never did.
I never thought it would be possible.
Did you perform in front of the family and do a little family
all the time?
All the time? And your family loved it? I hope.
My mom, you know, back in the day was the little tape recorders, like a tape deck, right? And my mom would sit me in front of it, and she'd press record. And just the knowledge that it was recording.
Did you light up when she pressed record?
I would sit there and sing for as long as the tape ran. So 60 minutes, 90 minutes, I don't know. And I would just sing and sing. I mean, she must have hundreds of these tapes that I would just... And I think that was how she knew that she
When is
had
the
to
album coming out?
let me follow something.
Let me ask you a question. Now, from being a child, performing with a tape recorder, to starring on Broadway, take us on that journey.
Oh, my
goodness. Because that's pretty interesting. Because how many people get to do Broadway? Very, very few people.
It's funny, you know, when you're working on Broadway, after the first couple of weeks, it doesn't seem so very unique, right? Because there are so many people who work and make a living on Broadway. And people come in and out. I mean, once you have a Broadway show, you'd like to think it's easy to get another Broadway show, but that's not necessarily the case. So you just enjoy the time that you're there and try to live to the fullest every moment that you have. It's a really wonderful way to make a living, but it's also a living which comes at a cost. You don't have a lot of stability, and you usually have to have something else to fall back on, and have other things that fulfill you. So I'm very fortunate that I do have other things that fulfill me, and I'm also fortunate that I've gotten to do this wonderful thing. I mean, you asked me to bring you on the journey.
Yes.
So I started in high school doing, very typically, I think, high school, doing the shows, and then I landed in a great voice department at a college at Carnegie Mellon University, which I had no idea was as good as it is until I got there and realized the caliber of training that I was getting. And then I decided I was coming to New York, and was so fortunate to, within my first week, be auditioning on stage at the Imperial Theater for Phantom. Was it the Imperial? No, it's the Majestic. Oh, it's the Majestic Theater.
Phantom of the Opera.
Yes, on stage.
You weren't hit by the chandelier that came down.
No,
Okay.
Just the newbie with no idea what I was doing, and walked on that stage with so much history, and couldn't see the people I was auditioning for, and was just shaking in my shoes. But that experience, for somebody who was so new, was such an indelible mark on my psyche. And to start there and then go through the years of touring. I was on tour for 4 years with Showboat and Beauty and the Beast. I did a tour with Michael Crawford for a summer, which was amazing.
How was that amazing with Michael Crawford? What was the amazing part?
Well, we got to play so many enormous venues: Radio City Music Hall, Hollywood Bowl. We were at we were at sports arenas. There were crowds of tens of thousands of people. I've never before or since, performed for that many people at once. I was hired to sing backup vocals and understudy Dale Christian, who played Kristin opposite him when he did the Phantom numbers. And so honestly, there were only 2 numbers that needed backup vocals, and I was primarily there to be an understudy. I've been an understudy quite a bit. But the 2 songs that I did backup vocals, I really didn't have that many notes to sing, so I kind of broke down the amount of money I was getting paid per note, and I was getting paid about $20 a note. It was fantastic.
Good. Boy.
but they were wonderful people to work with. Michael was amazing to work with.
What kind of guy was Michael?
He's very private. I think he has to be. He's very, very talented and very warm, caring. So it's an interesting dichotomy, because when you have to protect yourself from so many fans who think they know you, you have to have a certain guard up. But once you could get past that wall, he's a wonderful human being, and very warm and loving, and he was always so wonderful to me.
Who are some of the other people you've worked with that impressed you?
Oh my gosh, I got to work with Jerry Herman.
Oh, tell me about Jerry Herman.
One of the theater greats.
One of the greats in the theater.
I mean, just an amazing, amazing man. He wrote a show called Dear World, among many others. Mame, Hello Dolly, you've heard of all those.
Sure.
Dear World is not as well known, but it was a wonderful show, and when I want to say 24, I was just coming back to New York from being on tour. The Goodspeed Opera House did a production of it, and I walked into that audition, and there was Jerry Herman behind the table.
Amazing.
I could hardly believe it, and I sang the song. I had learned the song from the show for the audition, which often you have to do. But this song, even though I had only known it for a few days, really resonated with me, and I really connected to it. And in fact, I still sing it. It's called "I've Never Said I Love You."
I know, that's a wonderful song. Not very well known, but a wonderful, wonderful song.
No, it's a beautiful song.
Beautiful, one of my favorites.
And out of all of the people that auditioned, Jerry Herman and the creative team of the show, of course, chose me to sing that role and to be in their show. And I got such wonderful notes from him. I mean, he really is one of the most warm and wonderful human beings I've ever met, just truly.
You have a family, you have 2 wonderful kids, you have a wonderful husband. How do you find the time to do it all?
You just do the best you can. Be easy on yourself and try to make a little headway every day and try to spend some time with your family every day. I think it's the same juggle that any working mom does, You do the best you can, and you hope that it is enough. And luckily for me, I love it so that it isn't work.
That's the success. It's not work. It's
right.
The beauty.
I mean, it. Of course it is. Of course, it's the time and the hours and sometimes I have to learn a song at midnight for an audition the next day, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get it into my brain in time, and a little stressful at times like that. But I love it, so it's all worth it.
Gives you the extra adrenaline rush to get in there and do it.
Yes.
Now, we have a lot of people watching who want to get into show business. A lot of young people watch the show, even though it's nostalgia. how do you prepare for a successful audition? Are there certain tricks of the trade? How do you do it?
Oh, I could tell you.
Yeah. Well, some that you can tell us.
No, I mean,
or you could charge for the information right into.
Right.
Yeah.
The most important thing for an audition, once you get past the technical of learning the song, or a monologue, whatever it is, whatever the piece they've asked you to do, is finding a way to be connected to it. Really living in the moment and being able to forget that you just learned it last night and that your children were screaming when you were leaving to go to the audition. Forget all those things for that 30 seconds that you get or 2 minutes, and try to connect to it. Give the audience a piece of you.
Because I often wonder, people do the same show for years. Cats, 20, 25 years, they do the same role. Well, not the same people, but over and over for years and years and years. How do you keep it fresh?
It's funny you should ask
exciting?
that. I did Mary Poppins for 7 years.
7 years.
And it's a challenge. But again, you do find it's sort of a natural course. It goes up and down. There are ebbs and flows. And when you're doing the same material over and over again, you find different things. I would be amazed. There would be nights when I'd be up there doing the same ensemble number that I'd done for 3, 4, 5 years, however long it had been. And all of a sudden, something else would click in my brain, and I'd think, oh, I'm going to do it this way tonight. And it wouldn't be that different. I mean, anybody watching would maybe not necessarily know I was doing it differently, but I had a different spin on it, and it gave me enough of an interest to keep going. I mean, you find fresh, new takes on things, and that's also what directors are for. Directors will give you that spin. They'll give you a suggestion for, you know what, you've done it this way, it's great. Let's try it this other way. Let's see what else we can find. And there is always something else to find. Part of what I love about this business is that you're never done, ever. I'm never going to be able to say, I am the best actress I ever want to be. I'm the best at all of these A, B, and C different facets of being a performer, because there's always something new to learn. I will never be the world's best tap dancer. I won't. I can work really hard at it. But there's always something else you can work on. And that's the really amazing part of it.
That's the secret.
Yeah.
We have to take a break right now.
Okay.
Public service announcement. I don't know if it's about
Okay. Broadway,
but we have it. So we will be back in 1 minute. Don't touch that dial.
After 17 years working as a mason, Mike was laid off. I met him when he came into the library looking for help. He found a job opening, but the application was only online. Mike said he'd spent his entire life around tools, but had never used a computer. I showed him how, and he ended up applying for numerous jobs online. I saw Mike the other day. His new computer skills paid off. He's working again.
New Jersey libraries are transforming lives. Tell us your story.
Welcome back. We have Kristin Carbone. I didn't pronounce it right. I'm not going to make Broadway, am I? It's Carbone.
Oh, it's fine.
Is there a chance? Am I going to? Anyway, what actors or actresses or singers, because I know you teach singing, and we're going to get into that in a minute, influenced you as a performer?
Oh, gosh. I always loved Bette Midler growing up.
Terrific.
Madeline Kahn is a huge one. I always, gosh, every time I see a performance of hers, I just think, how did she come up with that? So brilliant. Bernadette Peters is one. In fact, I actually had one of the best compliments of my career when I was auditioning, and somebody said, "You remind me of a young Bernadette Peters." And I was like, and they weren't talking about me physically for sure. I think they were talking about my voice. And but yeah, there's some really amazing women to model after in the musical theater realm, and there's always a new inspiration too. right now I think I talk about Idina Menzel almost every day when I'm teaching because so many of my students want to sing just like her. Of course, Let It Go is the hugest hit ever.
Now, you, of course, teach singing, and you're wonderful at it. In fact, this is how we met. My wife, the lovely Joan Delalloy, is taking singing lessons.
Lovely and beautiful, yes.
Can we farm her out to Broadway to pay the bills? You think there's,
I mean,
can we do
you
that?
never know. There's some roles for her if she wants to pursue it.
Now, here's a question you must be asked 1,000 times. Everybody, I don't care who it is, everybody sounds absolutely great in the shower. I go into the shower, and let me tell you, I'm Frank Sinatra, I'm all the great singers. What's with the shower?
Oh, it's all about the reverb. It's all about the echo. It comes right back at you.
Thank you. Now, can anybody learn to sing? Even if you're can everybody learn to sing on some level? Not great level, but some level.
Here's what I think. I mean, I think very few people are actually tone deaf. There are people who do not have a sense of pitch. Like, just in the same way there are people who are colorblind. But I think the great percentage of the population actually can hear pitch. And I really think that's the only obstacle. If you can hear a pitch, if you can match a pitch, then I think you can sing. You have to be taught to breathe correctly and to use the air that you breathe in to support, to put the sound in the correct placement so that you're making it as easy as possible for yourself to hit the notes. And so much of it is about technique. So you hear about people, oh, he couldn't hold a tune in a bucket. I think it's just a matter of training, And not everybody's going to be a Broadway star, but I think everybody can sing with a very pleasing sound if they work at it.
Now, my question is, at the end of the show, can you make me sound like Frank Sinatra?
I mean...
Can you do it?
I don't know where you're starting from. Give me a
I'm
give
starting
me a tune.
way down.
Come on. Give me some Frankie.
Now, talking about Frank Sinatra. Frank Sinatra was not only a great singer, but a great actor. Mm-hmm. Is being an actor, an important part of singing?
Oh, of course. Of course. Being a singer, a technician, is only as interesting as I find the most interesting part of singing a song is acting it. You can only hold an audience's attention for so long with beautiful notes if you're not telling the story. So I tell my students this all the time. My goal is to get my students past the point where they're worried about the notes and the technique to the point where they can tell the story. And that goes for every genre, every song ever written. I firmly believe that. So if you're thinking that you can sing without acting, I think that your career would be very short. I mean, I really think you have to be an actor.
Now, people will freeze up when they sing. They'll hold it back,
Yes.
They're afraid. What are people going to say? How are they going to react?
Uh-huh.
How do you overcome that in singing? What do you do to overcome that
It takes
freeze
some
up?
bravery. It takes some bravery. You have to let it go. It's a great analogy for life, right? Anything that you try to force to happen, you try to hold on to it too tightly, and it gets stuck, right? But if you let it go, right? If you love something, let it go, right?
Exactly.
Then if you let your voice fly, then it will reach its full potential. You have to give it the basis to do that. So as a singer, I'm talking very esoterically, but as a singer, my job is to create the air, the support on which my chords, my instrument can soar.
Is that the biggest challenge for you as a professional singer? I mean, what would be the biggest challenge for you as a professional singer?
Your voice changes as you get older. Your voice changes as you today I happen to be a little sick. So the biggest challenge is working with the voice that you have on a given day, because some days your voice is in a better shape than it is on others.
Because you take a Tony Bennett who was in his 80s, the man still has the instrument, still has that.
Sure.
How is that possible? Is it control of
his technique
diaphragm
is so
technique?
Good.
I mean,
yeah,
it's
Rosemary
amazing. You
Clooney
can still keep
still
that.
too. I mean, anyone who has that wonderful technique will be able to make the voice that they have that day work to the best of its potential, right? So your voice may not be in great shape, but if you've got the technique working under it, you'll still be able to sing, assuming you have any voice at all.
They were very clever. They did the duet album, Tony Bennett, Frank Sinatra. So it took the pressure off them because they sang with another person. And that was a very, because Sinatra in his later career did that. And it was a very clever thing to do.
But I like to think those masters, I mean, they were just having fun.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, so once you get, that's what I was trying to say earlier, is once you get to a certain point, you can forget about the technique. I mean, it's there, it's in you, it's a part of you. Just like reading is a part of you. You don't have to think about how to read. Once you learn how to sing, you don't have to think about how to sing anymore, unless you reach a particularly difficult passage or something that's right on your break. Then you might have to revisit and say, oh, right, this is what I have to do. But once you know how to sing, you can apply it to every song you sing.
Seriously, you say that because you're probably too young for this, but Tony Martin was a very big singer in the 40s. And he's my favorite all-time singer, even more than Sinatra. My lovely wife, during my birthday, treated me to see him. 96 years old, was still performing at Feinstein's. And the man, obviously, the voice was not there, but he had the technique and the style. And that was absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
That's kind of what makes a great singer, I think.
Right.
Is the voice plus that style, that technique. It's wonderful. One of the things you're involved is children and art. Tell me about children and art. That seems
Well, that was a concert that was done for Sondheim's 70th birthday back in, it must have been 2004. What show? Yeah, it was Fiddler on the Roof I was in, 2004, 2005. And it was a tribute to Stephen Sondheim. So his catalog is so huge and wonderful. There are so many songs to choose from. There was a choir of 300 people. I don't remember exactly how many people, but it was enormous. And then Broadway luminaries were performing some of his numbers, and the choir was performing some, and it was an amazing evening.
And he was in the audience, and
yeah, he was there.
What was the reaction to it? He must have been an incredible reaction from him to hear his stuff with the kids.
I think he enjoys having his work celebrated, because I think for so many years he was so far ahead of his time. A lot of his work was not appreciated, at least on a level of selling out tickets for so long, that now, I mean, there really is a celebration. Every time I turn around, there is another event celebrating his life, as well there should be, because his work is so amazing and so above and beyond any of his contemporaries in terms of its breadth and scope and how long he's been composing and the work he's done. Yeah.
Good question. Another question. How would you compare old Broadway with new Broadway? Is there a big difference in old Broadway versus new Broadway?
Sure.
What is the main difference, do you think? Is it better? Is it worse?
Of course, we're getting better and better.
We're getting better?
I think so.
Well, where's
it's
South
funny.
Pacific and Showboat and all the great classics?
Sure, but you listen to some of the original recordings, though, and the singing is not up to the standards of today. I mean, it was wonderful and perhaps more authentic because it was from the time that it was written, and so there's a lot to be said for those old productions. But as a whole, Broadway has gotten better and better and better. The level of talent that walks into those audition rooms today is unbelievable. Every single person that walked through that door will blow your socks off with their talent, with their skill. as singers. So that, the producers have so much more of a choice now as to who they're going to cast.
Why more than then? I mean, why do you think there's more talent than there was way back when?
I just think we've learned so much more.
In technique?
I mean, the Broadway, the American musical theater is a relatively young genre. So that, right around 1900 was when it was really starting to, even later actually. I think don't quote me, I think Showboat was written in 1924. But
I think you're about right.
Is it?
Yeah.
Well, I should know it. I did that show too. But that was really the first quote unquote American musical. It was the first one that married the singing with the acting, with the dancing. So, I mean, that's less than 100 years that musical theater's been around, drawing on other art forms, drawing on opera, drawing on vaudeville. So I think as it becomes a more defined genre, and as people understand it as its own entity, people necessarily get better and better at it. The skill, the talent level is so amazing. I can't imagine some of the current recording artists, what they can do with their voices is unbelievable. I'm talking musical theater recording artists, the Audra McDonalds and.
Oh, she's wonderful.
Right. And I mean, there are just so many amazing singers who really vocal pyrotechnics, really wonderful.
It is. It's amazing, right?
And I've made a living in Broadway. I mean, I've made a living in theater, and I've been very, very fortunate. But I mean, some of the things these people are doing just are amazing and wonderful to listen to.
Talking about an amazing and wonderful, we had an amazing and wonderful show. We have about 30 seconds to go.
Oh, okay.
But Kristin Carbone, and we're going to put up your website, email. People want to learn to sing.
Great.
And you have a great deal going for our Nostalgia Alley members, a free lesson if they come.
A free lesson.
That's only for our audience.
Is free, yep.
So mention Nostalgia Alley, you'll get a free lesson. I mean, what could be better than that? Thank you so much for doing the show. It's been a pleasure. I feel like I want to go out and do a Broadway show.
Come along, sing with me.
And this is Mike Sobel. Say thanks for stopping by, and I want to say good night to you, and especially to you.